the entrepreneur 2 or 3 generations back will say, you know, we'll talk about all of his grandchildren who are doing great and interesting things. They became this, they became that. All the kids that he's talking about are the kids who didn't go into the business. Because he considers the kids who didn't go into the business to be more entrepreneurial than the ones who went into the business, when you basically get down to it. Because the kids who went into the business, and mind you guys, I am not putting value judgments. Please hear that what I am talking about has no judgment attached to it. I'm not saying that one is better, one is worse. I'm giving you observations and I'm giving you some ideas to think about. That the stories that you hear from those 70-year-old guys will be to praise the kids who didn't. Not because they don't think that the kids who are in the business. If I then say to them, so what about, you know, Ethan, he's doing really great in the business. Look at how much he's built the business, and he's, you know, the business has grown tremendously. And he'll say, oh, yeah, he's done a great job. I mean, look, I really think he's done a great job. You know, but my grandson over there, who's really starting that, he's done because they view it as something I've given to you. You didn't start it on your own, and they started it on their own. They didn't view it. So there's a lot more positives that get given to the entrepreneurial spirit. To me, it's not a good or bad, but it says something about what we want to create in families going forward. If that's what's valued, is the ability to be entrepreneurial, and that's what got you where you are in the first place, don't you want to promote that in the next generations? If you hang on to the notion of a legacy business and only think about providing for that business, then you go into a notion with kids of getting entitlement and of producing non-productivity. In the extreme. Does that make sense of why I'd say entitlement and non-productivity? If you have one business and a kid thinks that that's the way to go, and that's dad built this or grandpa built this and that's my way in, I'm entitled to that. It's my legacy. Oftentimes when you talk to next generation, they'll say it's my legacy. They'll also feel it as a burden, and I don't particularly think that's a great thing, is to feel it as a burden. I'm doing this partly, as a guy said to me on the phone. I came into my father's business. He was an architect. I now run it as a business. I built it from an $800,000 company when I came in. Through acquisitions and mergers, I built this to a $10 million company. Because the son is focused on business, the father's focused on professional practice. He said, but this wasn't my dream of what I'd be doing. I came in here to help out my family. That's horrible, to reach 45 and feel like that's what you're doing. And that was the way that you wanted to do it because it brought you closer to your father and because you thought that was the way of fulfilling things and you thought that was the way to go. Whereas now at 45, he's got to figure out, what am I going to do? Do I want to stay in this? And if I'm going to stay in it, what's it going to look like? It builds a sense of burden and entitlement, and oftentimes for families, non-productivity, because they think it will continue no matter what. And they don't have the same sense of what it's going to take to work it out. We have our culture that has raised kids who think that they should expect something, and they keep waiting for it to come to them. And that it's become a life cycle task for all of us to get through that notion of entitlement. So if you think of this as the way to go, then you end up with kids who have an increased sense of what their expectations should be. Versus somebody who thinks, I need to do something more and spread my mind to be able to do this.